So in December, I still have 2 talks, including today's talk. Then I'll finish the topic on the 100 Dharmas in Yogacara. And today, I'm going to talk about the topics that does not belong to the mind, does not belong to the form, but it exists and it will influence our perception to outside world and our mental activities. And so I would like to repeat what I have talked about, what Dr. Max Klein shared with me about the Dharma and science. So like the upper part of the slide, basically when a practitioner is meditating, okay, we reflect what's inward. We examine the process of our mind. But on the other hand, the current science, because we have to prove to others that this theory or this logic is true. And so this logic and or theory or principle should apply to everyone, every one of us. So we have to build up the science on from the common experience and the common phenomenon in order to prove to others. So the focus will be the outside phenomena. And so when we talk about science, we examine the process outside the body, okay, or the physical body, and it never touch the mind, okay. So that's what some of the current scientists are working on, the worldly phenomena, try to include consciousness. And this is a very interesting topic, and I will share some of the famous scientists' view with you. And today's topic, today's Dharma, is called like pseudo-Dharma, because from the mundane world, you cannot evaluate it. There is no standard evaluation for this concept. Some of them might, yes, but I'll show you why this is all created pseudo-Dharma today. And so these categories of Dharma is translated into embodied conditions, but not directly perceived by chitta, the mind. And this kind of Dharma, what kind of Dharma are this, and what happened to us with these Dharmas in mind? Okay, so basically I'm talking about the pseudo-Dharma here. These Dharmas, compared to so-called real Dharma, which include the mind, the 8 consciousness, and the 51 mental factors, and the 11 form Dharma. Those Dharma does not belong to any of them, but why we call it pseudo-Dharmas that will initiate mental factors and mental activity is, and how we perceive the form is because this is man-created concept that will affect how we perceive this world. Okay, so I'm trying to use this slide to explain what these categories of Dharma, how this exists. Okay, this is a famous painting here. A sunny a Sunday on that island or something. And so in this painting, why it's so famous? Because it looks good, the technique is good, and a lot of things good. So that's why this painting worth a lot, okay, in the museum. But when an artist painted this, any of this character in this painting, the artist created it, and they don't know each other. Even the couple standing here on the painting, these two people does not know each other, okay? And all of the people here does not know each other. And also all this so-called the human here, or the dogs here, animals here, does not perceive the tree, the pond or lake or ocean, or okay, or the boat. So in other words, in this painting, none of the object know each other. But when they put together, it's beautiful. Okay, so and also this, so the artist's mind paint this painting, and all this character does not know each other, but when they put together, they are a beautiful masterpiece. But and also this masterpiece does not have the artist's mind. Otherwise, if I hit this painting, you will feel painful. Okay, so this kind of a concept is are described in the Srangama Sutra. The 7 places is to look for the mind. Okay, so but there is a concept called beautiful. So what is beautiful? If I move any of the object on this painting, so I try to duplicate this painting, and I move some lady to more right or more left, and I move the tree, then it won't become a masterpiece. It won't look as beautiful. Okay, so that's why there are good artists, there are famous artists, there's ordinary artists, because the painting they draw looks different. Okay, so who can say that this is beautiful? And maybe for the kids, they all looks the same. They all look the same, right? So the concept of beautiful is mind created, and we will look for beautiful things, and we don't like ugly things. Okay, so the same thing, the Dharma I'm going to talk about today is kind of this kind of the things that human created, the concept that we created, the logic or the value we created, and then it will influence we like it or not, or we want to get it or not, something like that. And then this will further initiate some of the mental activity that might lead to wholesome or unwholesome. Okay, now the first thing is I don't know how to pronounce the Sanskrit term, but it means gain. Okay, obtain. Okay, the same thing for loss, the other part. Okay, so what it means is the idea of the ability to obtain anything desired. This is what we have every day. I want to have something for breakfast. Then I find something and I cook it and I eat the things I want. So I get a good breakfast. Okay. I go to work because I want to make money. I need money. So I make money. Now, we work every day, right? Right now, we work from home. and like I talk online, and then I work, and then the company or somewhere give me money. And so I gain my salary, okay? I get money, okay? So this is a regular concept that we have is I want something and I work hard and I try all kinds of means to get it. So I can get something. So this concept is there is a person, a subject persons, and there is the object outside that is from other place. And when I do something, these objects become mine. Okay, that's the idea of this gain. Okay, and now, so the stock markets is so dramatic in 2020. Okay, so I basically put like good stock and like airline stock here. All right, so we will say, oh, if you have bought the stock, the Tesla, you gain a lot. See, look at the chart. You gain a lot. But if you bought Delta, you lost a lot. But this gain and loss depends on when you bought this stock, okay? Of course, no matter when you buy it, for Tesla, you win, you gain a lot. But for Delta, depends on your entry point. And you feel like you gain or you lost. But the problem is, did you really gain something? Okay, you feel lost when you enter at $10, for example, Delta. $10, you bought $10 Delta stock. And then it once go to $60 and you gain $50. But now it becomes 30. You feel so sorry, you feel upset because you lost $30. But you will never think back, actually you earned $20 because you once earned $60, but you never sold this stock. So you still earn $20, but you feel lost. Okay, let alone that you never sell this stock, the money is really not in your hand. So what is the gain and what is the loss? And also, if you die, if we die, the stock go to your children and you never gain. Okay, so this kind of gain and the loss is relatively speaking. Okay, and also one is the for practitioners that we all talk about that, the gain, the idea of gain is the major obstacle for all of the practitioners, because we attach to the concept of form. That's why we have the concept of gain and loss, including enlightenment. So I want to practice, I want to meditate hard and so diligently so I can achieve enlightenment. It sounds like enlightenment is something outside. It does not exist originally. And then through the efforts, through the hard work, we can get enlightenment. Okay, so this is an erroneous view of about enlightenment. Okay, so if you familiar with the Heart Sutra, we will say that the true wisdom is that no gain and no loss. Okay, so everything is originally there. Our Dharma, Buddha nature, our original self, the true self is already here. And because of the vexation, because of the delusion views, we cannot see it. Okay, what we're trying to do is to, get rid of those things that blind our view, so that we cannot see our true nature. Okay, so the first concept of the pseudo dharma is the gain, and next is, okay, how about well-being and happiness? Okay, so how much is enough? We earn, 1 million a year enough? No, for those people, they don't think that's enough. They need 2 million a year. Okay, and people, some maybe just like 20,000 a year, and people might think that's enough. Okay, of course, in New York, it's not enough. So, how much is enough is also subjective. Okay, depends, and so the idea of gain, decided how much effort you want to devote it to make money, depends on the idea you think how much is enough. And how about the well-being and happiness? If you spend most of your time making money, and then you don't have time for your families, for your loved ones, then where is your happiness? How we gain happiness, how we gain well-being, okay? How can we feel blessed? Okay, in Chinese, 幸福. All right, so we all want to have well-being, like live well, and we want to have a happy life. And how to get this happy life? How to live well? Not wealthy, okay, live well. So this is the idea of this that we need to contemplate when we try to gain something. And in this idea, because it will, if you always think that you don't have enough, I don't have enough, you vexed, you have vexation all the time, you worry all the time. But if you are content all the time, I have enough, and I can give, I can offer to others, and then you're happy, you spend more time, for other things, for art, for music, something, for family members. Okay, so this is the idea about gain, and spend more time, because it's very important idea for all of us to transcend. Okay, if not, let go. The second, I kind of like show for the sequence of the Dharma here. So there is 3 pseudo Dharma here. It's called, okay, from the bottom, the 10. Number 10 is called a unit, the small unit. For language, the small unit, it could be an alphabet, like English alphabet, A, B, C, D, okay, or a syllable, a vowel or a consonant, okay, like Japanese and Korean, each one of the letter has different sound, and Chinese has pinyin, okay? So this is the unit of language. And then go to number 8, and we put together the letter or the syllable, and it become a name, okay? A name for an apple, or a name for, like flowers, or, donuts, something, okay? And then it could be a group of name, for example, red flower, a red rose, white rose, still a name, but it's tell you they are different. But then go to number 9, it becomes a sentence. I like white rose, okay? So here I give you example, okay? A syllable is like do and then, okay? Do and then is one syllable. Of course, it's 2 letters and 3 letters here. But if you combine them together, it could be dozen or zendo, okay? So a dozen means 12, and zendo means a Chang Hwa, right? And so a dozen of roses is still a group of names. And a Japanese zendo is still a group of names. So how it become a sentence is, I bought a dozen of white roses to a wedding, and I bought a dozen of white roses to a funeral. Okay, how does this 2 sentences make you feel? White roses, red roses. Okay, some people might feel different because you might prefer some color. But when you hear that people say, I bought a dozen of white roses to a wedding, you feel happy. You're like, oh, who is getting married? You know, like you're good friends and all that. But when you heard that I bought a dozen of white roses to the funeral, then you automatically, oh, I'm sorry, you know, who passed away, something like that. Okay. And then the sentence could be a group of sentences, like I bought a dozen of white roses to a funeral because my cousin had just passed away and he had a car accident. So the sentence built up, and then you feel more sorry and sorry. And if you heard that, you know, I went to bring roses to a funeral, and my grandfather's passed away last week, and he was 100 years old. You're like, oh, wow. You feel different when you feel a cousin that had a car accident. So a unit of language become a group of names, become a sentence. You would decide how you react to the group of the totality, okay, the big picture, okay. So what does this teach us here? Like in a company, okay, if you have a small company, you have a boss and 3 employees, right? So for individual employee, it's a syllable, it's a unit. And then 4 of them become a company, that's a name. And then the company, and including the products they produce and sell and the income and all that, become a company, okay? So it become a sentence. And likewise, if this is a big company, then the individual unit might be employee, and the department become the names, and the whole companies become a sentence, a group of sentence. And for international company, what would that be? It's maybe a branch. Each branch company is the unit. And the continent, all the company in one continent become a name. And then all of the company worldwide become a sentence, the big picture. So here is why I bring this up. So when we look at things, if you are the president of the company for 3 levels of company, how you make decision, how you make decision to, you know, like in 2020, you know, all the company most of the company face challenges because the sales go down and you have to have a budget cut, you have to lay off employee. So right now for the small company, they lay off 1 individual staff. For a company, they might close 1 department. But for an international company, they might close a branch. Okay, so that's a different scope and to look at things. But from the concept of like the unit, the syllable, the names, and the sentence, we can look at the things in a different scale level, and then and how we react to lay off or close the company, and what is the influence of this same decision different based on how you look at it and based on the scope. Okay, here. Likewise, the concept, how we look at people. Okay, this is definitely a beautiful person here. From the, you know, how we say, how can we say one person is beautiful, okay, or elegant, okay? So look at when this movie star is young, from the eyes, you know, from the nose, from the hairstyle, from the jewelry, from the body shape, this unit, all the units looks elegant. And when they put together, still very elegant. Okay, so the parts of the organs, the parts of the body shapes is the unit. And it becomes the name, this person, Audrey Hepburn, okay. And then when we look at all the movie she played and look at her life, this is a very successful movie star, right? How about when she get old? You know, she, you know, the wrinkle here, you know, the eyes not that wide open, you know, no jewelry around. Will she still be elegant for you, for me? For some people, I believe for most of the people, yes. Why? Because right now, the unit of this person is not the how the nose and eyes looks like, is what the movie that he has played. And also the name is how each life stages, like each time slot that this person have this, how she lived her life. And then we look at the totality is how much good things that she has done. So we still think that, you know, even though she's old, and we think that she's still elegant, because at this point, the name, the unit, the name, and the sentence has different definition. Okay. How about Mother Teresa? She's never rich. She never looks elegant like the movie star. But will you love her? Will you respect her? You know, if she's not Mother Teresa, this person has this appearance, walk on the street, you might not pay any attention to this kind of person. But she's Mother Teresa, okay? She doesn't look beautiful, but she's noble. She becomes Saint Mother Teresa. And right now, when we look at this person, the unit, the names, and the sentence, not defined at the outlook, is all the things that she has done to one individual, to a group of community, to a country, or to this whole world, or, you know, the Catholic community. So she became a saint. Okay, so the idea that bring up here today is not just like, you know, a language. And of course, the first, when we speak or write something, and the same thing, you know, when we listen, we need to listen the whole picture. Okay, and this whole picture is a combination of the names and the syllable. Okay, so this can be changed. The unit can be changed. If we look, let's see, if we look the big picture, bigger picture, not just this life, life after life after life, then one life will become a unit, and several lives become a name, and the unlimited life become a sentence. Then we will probably more understand what Buddha talked about, you know, life never end, okay? And people never die, all right? So we will talk about in the next topic is life force, okay? The life force is also pseudo-dharma, you know, because you cannot measure it. The definition of life force, like, is life force is taken to be the life of the beings or persons, beings or persons, and is said to be the basis for either heat or consciousness. So from Buddhist principles or definitions, that the life force bind three elements together to make us alive. Okay, the first is our lifespan that is decided by our karma, that we talked about it earlier, that our karma, if we have, we always make offering, that we might have a long lifespan. And if we always commit killing, then we might have a short lifespan. Okay, this is from our karma. And also the warmth, the so-called fire element. This warmth, if you have a long life span, but somehow you lost warmth, lost your heat, body heat, then you will lose your life as well. And also the consciousness, of course, the mind. So this life force, the invisible life force, bound these three together. If the life force decay and our life end, you know, for the people on the deathbed, we found that the people have their last breath, and then they lose their body heat, and then lastly the consciousness leave. Okay, so we call this person die, because the life force totally decay, totally dismissed. Okay, so this is also a very concept that we attach to, because all of us want to live longer. All right, so these are the 5 concepts that come with the so-called life. So once we have a concept of life, then we have a beginning called birth. Then we have a continuum of the life. Okay, then we get old, and then we facing the life limit. You know, when the time comes, we died, and when we move to, we have a transition stage for Buddhists, it's called Bardo, that we move to next life. And during this life, things move on. Okay, so move onwards. Continue advance is another idea. So we have a past life, move to present life, and we will move to future life. It will never stop at one place. It just keep going. And also for current life, we from childhood to teenage to young adult, middle age, in an older adulthood, it never stops, because our age just keep adding on, right? And so at the same time, even our childhood, if we divide it into different stages, each stage has its beginning, has its abiding, has its decaying, and has its end. So at the age of 12, we end our childhood and then we move on to teenage. And then we start our teenage until 19 by definition, and then we move on. And then so each stage has its cycle of what we talk about, the things. And then so things move on. And then eventually we die. And here, we can even divide it each stage to further. And then to, one day, it has a beginning, it has abiding, and then now sunrise as in sunset, and then go to the night, 12 o'clock, this day end. Okay, so we can look at this cycle, at the different levels. Even one thought has these cycles. Okay, so what about this idea? Okay, for people, when we are child or teenage, we eager to grow up. We want to be, I want to make my own decision. I want to make my money. I want to have my own money. I want to have my own family. But when we get old, then we think that, I want to be forever young. I want to look young. I want to be healthy, like young age. So this create kind of some mental, if we discriminate, if we don't accept the stage we were at, then we would try to do strange things. We would deny our age and try to do something that is beyond our age. And that creates some problem or some vexations. Okay, so the age, and also it depends on, the time. We will talk about the concept of time and space. Okay, when in the ancient time, 50 years old is kind of old, but in current time, 50 years old looks young, So these are subjective, and then it's not a defined way to say that you are old or you are young. Okay, and the next fourth concept is called a strict rule as to applying an example to particular person or things only. Make it short or simple. Is it's a defined. It has a strict definition that, for example, wholesome is good, unwholesome is you are doing the bad things. And for example, that water is liquid and ice is solid. Okay, so this is defined differences between materials or persons. So I am female and someone is male, and female and males are different. Okay, so that's what this is talk about, number 16. And this is hard to change because it's decided by the worldly phenomena. Like this as a human, right? We think water is liquid, but how about for fish? Okay, maybe the water, they feel water like air, okay? And they can breathe in water, but they will, die in the air. And the 17 is even like connection, relation, fitting together, the so-called yoga. This is also very, like when you see someone and you immediately feel connected with that person. And why? And how? You know, and when you see this picture, when you hear this music, you like it, you connect it. So this is also an idea. And the other, number 18, is called speed or velocity potential. Okay. So when we say that these things run fast, these things run slow, okay, because it's defined by the human, okay, and because there's a, we will talk about that time and space, but for this idea for causes and conditions and consequences, when it applies to this idea of causes and condition and consequence, that it tried to indicate that, you know, when we do good things, we accumulate wholesome dharma. When we do bad things, we accumulate unwholesome dharma. And then so wholesome mental activity will connect or fitting together to wholesome mind will connect to wholesome activity, unwholesome mind to unwholesome activity. And then the speed, the velocity potential that drive from your unwholesome or wholesome activity to the wholesome or unwholesome consequence depends on how bad the things and how good the things are, and depends on how much or how many times you commit this wholesome or unwholesome activity. And then you will create it, you know, if you do really, really bad things, maybe you will see the consequences next day. And when you do just a little bit, maybe after 3 lives, you will receive the consequences. Okay, that's called the velocity potential. And the 19th is about the order, the sequence, the levels. For example, we need to learn algebra before we learn calculus. Okay, without knowing algebra, it's hard to understand calculus. And the algebra itself has a basic algebra and advanced algebra, different levels, okay? So we have different sequence and we have different levels. And calculus has a basic calculus and advanced calculus, okay? So these are the idea, you know, you have to do step 1, step 2, step 3, and or you have to do the basic and, you know, and then to the advanced. And this is the idea. Okay, maybe for some genius, they don't need to learn algebra. Then they can understand what the you know, relativity theory is. So it is for ordinary people. We need to have this the sequence and the levels. Okay, so all this is a concept. It has its general definition, but it's not like, you know, clear definition. Like if you see green, then you connect. And how about some people see red, they connect. And the so-called the speed, velocity, potential, you know, like, oh, time flies, you know. I feel like I was just like teenager, now I'm middle age. But when you meditate, the time is so slow, you know, like how come the 40 minutes like a year and you feel so painful? So this kind of velocity, the speed, is also subject to the circumstances. So the next 3 is about the region, the place, and the time, and the number, the numeration system that we can sum up. Okay, these three is that what we spend some time to talk about is because time, space, and number has major influence for all of us. For example, the first idea about gain, I want to be rich, so I need to make more money. But look at the data here. In the United States, for the data in 2019, the GNI, the averaged gain per person, 65,000 something. But for Vietnam, only 2,500 something. So if you are in Vietnam and you make 10,000 a year, that means you live well, okay? But in US, you are poor. But if we calculate it, one USD equal to 23,000 plus the Vietnam done, and your income 65,000 some plus dollars, you are billionaire in Vietnam, but you are average person in the United States. Okay, so you rich, you poor, how you calculate it, how you think that way. Okay, because we have different currency exchange, and in different places and different time. So I think back to 20 or 30 years, $10 you can have a good meal, but $10 right now, especially in Manhattan, you cannot even buy a veggie burger. Okay, so the idea of money, how wealthy, how much you have, even though you have $10,000, depends on the time. 10,000 US dollars depends on the time, depends on the place, and the number mean different for you, okay, for us. So this is the first aspect of this time, space, and number, okay. So when we look up the stock again, okay, different time when you enter into the stock depends on, it depends on the value of the money at that time, and also depends on where you own this market. If you own this market in Vietnam, no matter how much it worth, you reach, okay? And also how you calculate this delta that you gain, okay? So it's the idea that we apply to our daily life. And again, how we calculate well-being and how we calculate happiness, okay? So this is the idea. It depends on the time and space and the number. And remember that when, for the World War II, people born after World War II, everybody's relatively poor. And then I heard that, like $50 or $1, you can go to McDonald's, have a full meals of burger. Okay. And you are so happy. It's like when you have a birthday or you have a major celebrations, the parents bring the kids to McDonald's, have a full meals of burger, and the kids are so happy. But nowadays, if you bring the kids to have a burger at McDonald's, it's maybe $10, I don't know. Does the kid feel happy? That maybe that's their ordinary meals, every day. So we need to think about this, and then we need to break the idea. And we don't have to do anything. We just break the idea of time and space and the numbering system. And maybe our vexation's gone. And maybe we feel more happier. We feel happier, okay? We feel more content. Now I want to go to the more deep down concept of time and space, okay? Is time an idea or actuality? Right now, scientists, a lot of good scientists bring up this idea about the idea of time and space is not. It's we created. There is no real time, reality of time and space, okay? So because of the time, I quickly go through. There is a very famous people, Dr. Robert Lanza. He is very famous for his stem cells research, okay? But he published a book about biocentrism. When he brought this manuscript to the publisher, the publisher, very sincere, tell this famous scientist saying that, I suggest you to publish this book after you retire, because this book may ruin your reputation in science. Okay, and then Dr. Robert Lanza insists, I want to publish right now, because why I get into science, why I get into stem cells research is because of this, that I want to show people that this world is created by consciousness, by observer, not by physical world, not by material world. Okay, so if you are interested, you can check with the website about this. But here, okay, that Dr. Lanza's point out, what is the biocentrism? He said that time does not have a real existence outside of animal sense perception. Without sentient beings' perception, time does not exist. Same thing to space. Okay, so space and time, we carry this idea with us all the time, and we always, in hurry because I run out of time, and I the space, I want to get rich because I want to move to a good neighborhood. I want to move to, for some poor country, they want to immigrate to US because US is a better place to live. So the time and the space, location, time is money, if I have more time, I can make more money. If I have more time, I can do more things to make my life nutritious, okay, good life. But we are tied up by the idea of time, space, but the real time and space is actually our consciousness created. And so, and Dr. The astronaut, Dr. Mitchell, like I mentioned that earlier, that he is a MIT trained astronaut. So he commented, also, time, nature itself only know process and sequence. It does not measure. So time and space is a result of a measurement. And also mind matter does interact. The matter is just compressed energy and information patterns of energy. And the ability to use it is consciousness. So here, I want to bring back that all this so-called pseudo-dharma is we created it. But the most important part is the awareness, the sentient awareness that the mind that who can perceive that created this. We can create this, we can change it. We created this and our life feels suffered, and we can change it and we feel happier. Okay, that's the idea. And I have said, I will move on quickly. The other idea is the so-called commonality by species and differentiation of species. Okay. It's like among the group, you find a commonality among, and from the community, it will manifest different things. Okay. So I just give example. When we look at two paintings, okay, and what is the commonality? What is the common for these two paintings? You can say, okay, these two women, they paint two women here, and you know the painter are both famous, and they all do good. They are the common part of this two painting. And what is the differences? You know, the style of painting is different, and one paints beautiful woman, the other is, you know, madam, you know, common person. You can find a lot of differences between this painting. Just painting itself, you can paint different things. And originally, it's like, what is the commonality of all the beings? Okay, when you look at the rich people, when you look at the poor people, what is the commonality of these two people? What is the differences? But oftentimes we will emphasize the differences between the poor people and the rich people. So we treat different people differently. And so for the Buddhist, when we talk about a commonality for all species, is that we all have the same Buddha nature. And at the same time, we have different karma, and we manifest differently in different realms, in different life. Okay, so that's called, you know, so that's why Buddha is Buddha and we are ordinary people, like what we are not right now. Okay, but the problem is when we try to practice to see our self nature, we look for the commonality of all the sentient beings. At the same time, when we try to help people, we try to help all the sentient beings, we need to know the differences of each individual in order to help them effectively. Okay, so we need to know the idea of these two. Okay, and the last two, oh no, the other two, I have to finish soon. Okay, the so-called communion and the opposite state of the case. Okay, so water and milk dissolve, they come together smoothly, and water and oil, no matter how you do it, they just, you know, separate. Okay, so that's a nature, that's a natural phenomena, because these two component has different properties. There is no right and wrong, it's just the property. So it has different kind of phenomena, that one dissolve and one does not, one mingle together, one does not. How about Democrat versus the Republican? Should they mingle harmony together, or should they be the opposite political party and always challenge with each other? Actually, it depends on the situation. If we are facing as a nation to protect this nation, no matter it's Democrat or Republican, we have to be harmonized together in order to face other country. But if it's we are handling the national affairs, we have these two parties need to challenge each other so that, these countries can grow. Okay, so there is no, communion and the opposite state has no, for human beings, for human affairs, that there is no sharp differences. We have to look at, what the situation is. For the Sangha, we have to be in a harmonious community. And then at the same time, we have different practice. Some people like Pure Land, some people like Surangama Sutra, some people like Huayan, some people like Tian Tai. Okay, we practice different sutra or method, but we are in the Sangha. We have to be harmoniously live together. All right. Okay, so my time is up. And the other three that the sutra, the Sastra talk about is about the attainment of the practitioners. Basically, these three stages, samadhi, and the two samadhi and the rebirth as a perception last God. This is like at the stage of no perception stage. So that's why there is no major, the significant mental activity and no perception to the form. That's why it belongs to the Pseudo-Dharma as well. So today I just quickly, because I only have one time to talk about the super mundane Dharma. And so I quickly go through the Pseudo-Dharmas written in the 100 Dharma Sastra, and just hope that you understand the idea of this so-called Pseudo-Dharma and how we can change the concept or change how we evaluate all those ideas, and then we can have a more so-called productive or so-called happier and less vexed life. Okay, so I stop here. Sorry about overtime.
So do we have time for questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we will open up for questions now. If you have questions, you can click on the hand button and we'll call your name and you can unmute yourself. Or you can post the question on the chat.
Okay. So if not, then always you can post in our Facebook or bring up next time.
Yeah. So is there any questions?
Chin Chin.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So Ching Ching, you can unmute yourself.
Can she?
Hi.
Yeah.
Sorry, it took me a while to unmute. Hi, Chang Hwa Fashi. Thank you very much for this talk. It always bring a lot of the good surprise to the content. A lot of it's very broad and very inspirational. I'm just curious on this 23 points that you showed. This is just very simple because I know time is 23 points you show. This is 4D ma? Is this an order of thing? Because you didn't present it in an orderly way. So I don't, I'm wondering the numbering system you use from 1 to 23. Are those, how should we see this? Is it stepwise or it's just categorical?
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Actually, from the Sastras, it indicates by the number I indicate. Okay, so it's just like the sequence by the number. But for interpretation, thank you for bringing up this. I use my logic to categorize this. But the for example, the birth, the five together, I check several commentary books. They usually go together because they are trying to bring up the idea of a life, and this can continue to be together after 15, and then you can come here. But the one I specifically move forward is the sentence, that one, and the time and space. The samadhi parts go to the very beginning, but I think that is the practice. This you can move to, but these three go together, but you can move anywhere, you know. So it's different teacher, they can interpret different concept with different combination of this idea. And there are more. Actually, there are more, like beautiful, like elegant. You know, you know.
The example of the movie star is great, and the Teresa, Mother Teresa. So I got your point. Well said. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
And next, Mark has a question.
Hey, I look at what Fashi presented all of this. It seems like all of these phenomena is we added in the meaningful, or we discriminate, or we added in the ingredient, including our feeling. All of these presentation, it's very, for me, how do we utilize these 20 plus 2 practice in our daily life? Like Fashi present the famous actress Audrey Hepburn. Yeah, I mean, we all know that it will add it in our imagination, but we know that's from our mind. But the question is, how do we actually practice these 21 or 22, or is there any principle we can grasp and gradually apply the things Fashi tried to teach us today?
Yeah, this is a very good question. I found last commentary on this Dharma, on these categories of pseudo-dharmas from the commentaries from all the authors, because it's really hard to explain. It's really hard to, feel it, because it's there, but you cannot feel it until you have vexation or you have a joy. And then you found out that these concepts exist. Of course, like the most frequent experience for the practitioner is when we have people practice deep samadhi. Oftentimes, our heard people interview with Shifu say, I lost the time and space. You might all heard that. I lost the time and space, the perception of time and space. And after that experience, actually that person changed, because he or she has the direct experience of no time and no space. And some people, I remember Sifu in the book mentioned that he moved the book upstairs, right? And he lost the sense of time. And after that, he said that he was not afraid of die anymore. And also the so-called numbers summing up. For example, mountain is big, right? Stone is small. It's also numbering. Big stone, but it's a small stone compared to mountain. The big and small is also a perception, educated perception. For some perceptions, for some practitioners, they will tell you that a sesame is the same size as the whole universe. And at that moment, you will not attach to big and small, large, attached to the number or the measuring or the calculation. So these are from the direct experience from meditation. But for us, what we can practice is when we attach to something, we can use analysis, like, I want to make more money. So let's analyze how much you have and how much you need and how much you can really own and how much you really can spend, and look at, and when you hate someone, why you hate it, enlarge the unit of that person. Don't look at the specific little behavior or the things that he has done to you badly. Enlarge the unit, this whole person, and his life and his life after life. And so Buddha always tried to help us to break the bondage of our view. And so that's why some people, cannot overcome the obstacle of the karma that the people treat them really bad, like especially their spouse. And then when they go to hypnosis and then found out that, oh, in the past life, I treat my spouse really bad. That's why this life he treat me bad. That's fair. So when we look at the thing, even though we cannot see the past, if we enlarge the unit, like the here, enlarge the unit, the letter, and then the name and the sentence, sometimes you will forgive and you feel happier. You feel like, so eventually it will get to the point that we can directly experience that nothing move and no gain, no lost. If we really look at the true big picture of life, no gain, no lost, and no good and no bad. That we need to, it's better that we the most attached things, from the greed, hatred, and ignorant things that bothers us a lot, and let's take it and use this 24 Dharma to think through it, repeatedly think through it from different angle, and try to break the bondage of this 24 concept, and see how we can look at these things differently. That's what I'm doing right now, but it's hard because this concept is so with us all the time. Hope that it helped you a little bit, Mark.
Well, we can practice the Buddha's nature. We understand the phenomena. They have a differences. They have all different form. They have ages. They have female, the male. But all of the phenomena is a phenomena. It is we human, we added in those feeling, or we make the judgment, we experience, but everybody is different. What I see here, it will help us to distinguish when we are confused about the situation, But when I look at that, I hardly can remember all of that. Not to mention about, based on the actual presentation from Fashi, I just want to know there shouldn't have any conflict about the principle when we practice the chain is to try to understand our Buddha's nature and how to apply to the phenomena, because without a phenomena, you cannot really show up the true function of the Buddha's nature. But, I'm just trying to see how am I going to digest this and utilize it to benefit my practice. That's my fundamental question.
All right. I think for me, my understanding is not like profound yet, but for me, the most important part is like painting. This in the beginning, these people don't know each other. For in our daily life, that person and that person, all the things manifest in our mind, each rose does not know each other, but we connect them in the wrong way. So we see things, we view things, we value things like what we are doing right now. But if we disconnect the pseudo relationships between all these components, and then we will see the true, more closely to see the reality of that component, the meaning of the component that we perceive. Like Shifu talk about that. You want to buy things because you think you need it. That's a connection. You connect with that things you want to buy. And I have to have it in order to make me happy. But the problem is the bag is the bag, you and the you. When you have this bag and then you think people will look at you, you feel differently. So, but that's your own interpretation. When people not seeing you carrying this bag, you are still you. And nobody will think about you when they didn't see you, most of them. Right? So in Chinese, Shifu say, 有关系,没关系. We have to know that do we really have the relationship with that object? Actually, we don't. It's our attachment that we think that we have the connection or relationship with that object. So-called attachment. All right. It's over time too much. I have to admit that I cannot give you we all need to contemplate, but it's important to know about this 24. For me, it's very important, especially if you are a very rational person, okay, or very sensational person, too rational or too sensational, we must attach to some of the concepts here. And too rational and too sensational, we have different vexations when we encounter daily life. And that's a good point for us to contemplate all the time especially when we have a dramatic, significant vexation or specific things that bothering you. Try to use this as a reminder and try to let go of it.
Okay, thank you, Fashi.